Hello everybody. Today I'm going to talk about the events editor in Polybridge. Alright, so this is a particular thing that you just kind of have to play around with a little bit to understand. It's a little bit confusing, but after you work through it, play with it a bit, then you can find out that it's a lot stronger than the way things were previously. The way things were in Polybridge previously is everything was linear. The particular step, the first thing would happen, the second thing would happen, third thing would happen, fourth thing would happen, and so on. And what I hope to show to you is how different things can happen in parallel, and things can happen at different times than they could before. So first thing I've got is I'm just going to show you how the UI of the events editor happens. There's a little button over here that expands and collapses this. It shows your start, where this is always there when you create your map. I've already created one car. If I want to create another car, I can either click on this, I can drag it over here, and it will appear in the editor. Or I could actually, instead, I can drag a car up onto the map and it will appear where I want it, and then it's going to just kind of guess where you want this in the events editor. It's going to create a link, which is this arrow here, which you can select by clicking in the middle and it will turn yellow. And that is typically, I think, it creates this link on the last particular thing in your events. So if you're going to create a default level, or like a level where say you make a car go across, you have a hydraulic, you have a boat, then you have another hydraulic, and then you have another car, then all those will add in a very basic order if you create them in the same way. The one thing that is a little more difficult is if I said, well, actually I want, let's say I had this car. Say I want this car to happen first. If I want to do that, then I have to remove a bunch of the links. Say I click this link, remove it, this link, and this link. And then I drag over here and just click on that, connect that. Then I connect this to hydraulic here, and then I can connect this over here. All right, now obviously this looks terrible. So fortunately we have a nice align button, and this, when you click this, then the game tries to put this in a nice neat format for you to read. You can scroll with your mouse wheel in and out to make this bigger or smaller. There's also little pluses and minuses over here. So sometimes if you're trying to click on something, like if you're trying to click on this little dot, it might be a little hard if it's really small. I mean, I can barely even see it over here. So that's just the basic idea. You can select on particular items and it will turn yellow. If I press delete, it will get rid of that phase. If I decide I want something to be in a different area, I can click it and I can drag it over into a different box, and then now both of these things will be part of the first phase. So in this particular example, both these cars would go, the boat would go, and then the hydraulic would go. Well, I don't want a boat, and I don't want to deal with hydraulic right now for my demonstration. First I'm going to drag this out of the box to create another group. And then I'm going to create another arrow here. So this other car goes at the same time, but it's at a different group. So, and now one of these A's is for the car, which I'm not sure which one that is. So now the thing that would be, now right now things are pretty typical. That's basically the same as if I had this in the group like here. See, if I have it in the group like here, they both start at the same time, and they both get there approximately the same time. But where it becomes different is what you're going to do after that. Now say, for an example, that instead this car was really fast. So let's change its speed up to 400%. It's just going to zip across there. All right, and then I'm going to add, just going to add a little bus, or whatever these Volkswagen bugs are, and I'm going to put it behind, and instead of being behind this car, I want it to go actually, no, I want to go right after, as soon as this car's done. All right. So once I play this now, this car gets across, and I need to slow my speed. So once it gets across, it does a wheelie. This other car starts while the other car was still moving. So this was something that essentially wasn't possible in the other before you had this. This car would have to wait previously until this car got to the flag before it could start going. So, and if I put this car in this box right here, you will see that both these cars have to get to their respective flags before the van starts to move. All right. And alternatively, you can do that same behavior by taking the arrow here and drawing it back into the B box. And now what this means is that this car, or this phase, and this phase, it's nice to think of these as phases instead of individual cars, because you could put multiple in a particular grouping. Both of these phases have to be complete before the van will move across. So this will be the same as if I had them drawn in one box. Now, why you might want to do that, that's up to you. You might have a whole bunch of different things. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make my van. I'm going to make this a little faster. This car was, well, I like the wheelie. It's kind of cool. So let's make this faster. Let's add a ice cream truck to the top. And let's move it down here. And I need to put... see, I'm going to need to start putting my flags towards the end. And I'm going to have to make sure I get my flags straight here. So, and then what I'm going to do is, let's see, so I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to create, just put a scooter up here, move the C up here. I want the scooter to be attached to the bottom instead, because it's actually easier to break the link by clicking this and just dragging it out of the box than it is to click on this particular thing and delete it. I'm going to create a taxi. I'm going to make this taxi go fast. And I want the taxi to be on this section here. So now what I have is I have basically two different bridges, and both of these bridges are going to go across at their own rate. These cars all start one at a time, and apparently I didn't do the taxi right. And then the ones at the top are completely separate. So I might have gotten my flags reversed here. So, okay. So I guess you need to move the flag first once you create it. That way you can keep track of which ones occur. And I can't really see the flags because they're high in this landmass. So that was it. So now the taxi goes across, and now this whole lower section is done, and the second car hasn't even gotten across on the top. But if I could grab let's say I wanted to have the second car complete before the taxi went. I can draw an arrow in there, and now that's going to be the case. Speed this up a little bit. Alright, so now this taxi before would have already been done, but it now is instead is waiting on this, and then once it gets here, both these cars will move. Alright, so you can do a lot of neat things like that. And another thing you might do is I might click on this particular this ice cream truck here, and I might say, well, I wanted to go after this car, but not immediately after the car. I wanted to just wait around a while before it starts. You can click on this. You can click on any particular event in this item, or that you can put in here, cars, boats, planes, or hydraulics, and I can put a time delay on it. So I'm going to say I want this to wait another, let's just do 6 seconds, because I want to make sure that I can tell the difference. I think did I put that in the taxi? Yeah. So now the van's going to get across, and now, well, what did I change? Oh, it's the ice cream truck. All right, I'm watching the wrong one. So this car gets across on the top, and even though it's gotten there, this ice cream truck is sitting around saying, hey, I'm counting down from 6 seconds, and I'm not ready to go yet. Now you might have a boat that goes through at that time. You might decide that you're going to have a hydraulic phase that starts at that particular time. It's whatever you want. All right, and then so let's say I do have a hydraulic phase. I can go ahead and I can add a hydraulic phase. Let's add it right here during this B step, and let's create. I'm going to add a hydraulic phase here too, and I'm going to mix this with a hydraulic controller a little bit. I need to go here, I need to turn on the hydraulic controller. I'm going to create 2 hydraulics, and I'm not going to attach them to anything, this is just for demonstration purposes. So right now we've got, looks like these kind of swap places here. So the van section is the one on the lower. So I'm going to click that, and I want this to happen. I want, when the van moves, I want the one on that same side to move. And I want the same to happen for the ice cream truck. So I'm going to click that hydraulic, and I'm going to uncheck this other one here. So now when the van goes across, the hydraulic attached to the same bridge will move. And when this goes across, this same hydraulic will move. And another thing I need to do when I play this is I need to click this level info, which you should be able to see particular things that is occurring. So right now, okay, it doesn't quite show the lower section. So you see the C section, this hydraulic is moving. Okay. All right, so I'm going to play this again and look at it, just this particular thing, because I was confusing myself. So the van goes across, and see that's moving right now. Once this starts moving, this particular one will start moving, and so forth. So that's a pretty cool thing to do. Let's see, what else can I do? Now let's say that this A car here, I wanted to have a checkpoint. So I can create a checkpoint. I'm going to put it in the middle of the bridge. It's going to be a pretty easy place to get to. But I can, when I do this, I can say, I want to stop this car. And then what's going to do is that car just sits there and waits for something else. And when I hit stop, a new event here will be created. And this is essentially to restart the A1. All right. So the A1 is the blue car. It's on this path. And let's say that the A1 is going to require this car to get to its flag before it starts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this into this group, and what will happen now is once the top car gets to the A flag, then the blue car will continue its journey. And the cargo went really fast, so alright, so it just kind of stopped in the middle, and the van pushed it through anyways, because the van said, I don't care that you haven't completed your journey, it's going to continue anyway. So I'm still kind of figuring a lot of this out myself. I thought I was going to wait for the car to get to the A. So I guess what I could do, if I want that to wait for that particular thing, if I wanted to wait for this car, I can make another input over here. So now I should wait until the top car gets all the way to the end. And then now the van and the next car and both hydraulics are allowed to go. So there's a lot of other cool things I can do at checkpoints. I can also change the speed. So say I don't want this. Right now I can set it to 20%, which is like a fifth of its original speed. So it should be like a normal speed once it starts up again. Right. Alright, and then let's see, let's do another thing. Let's say that I'm going to create a checkpoint for this car. I'm going to move it up here. Now what I'm going to do, actually I'm going to not do it for that one. I'm going to do that for the ice cream truck. I'm going to create a checkpoint. I'm going to move it up over here. And I'm going to trigger a sequence. And now what this does is I can start a whole new chain of events from this. And now let's say I'm going to be really mean, and I'm going to say when this ice cream truck goes, I'm going to create a big boat here. And this boat, I don't want there, I want it over here, and I'm going to start it when the ice cream truck gets to the checkpoint. So now what's going to happen is they check the ice cream truck. If these other cars haven't completed their journey by this time, then the boat will come through and wreck through the lower section's bridge. So they're kind of having a competition, I suppose, they're throwing each other obstacles. So let's see what happens here. So, alright, the van got all the way crossed. Ice cream truck hits. Boat's coming, but the taxi can't get there. Oh, and the taxi didn't complete. So that's a rather interesting bridge, because now you might have a challenge to figure out how you might slow down the B car, or how I guess you could just make a taxi go over the boat. And you could use the same delay on the boat. Say I think 2 seconds will probably be fine on this. If I put the boat on a 2-second delay, then I believe the taxi should clear the bridge before it gets crossed. Alright, so it did get across the bridge. Now the bridge is broken, and the little old man in the Vespa is driving really slow across the bridge. So that is how we want it. So I'm going to get rid of this delay because I like it causing the taxi to fail. But instead, I'm going to also say that I want this car, it's also going to have a grudge. I'm going to create a checkpoint over here. I'm going to trigger a sequence on that. And I'm going to make an airplane wreck through the top bridge. That's the alignment. Now, sometimes some of these things, unfortunately, don't quite line up correctly. But most of your levels probably won't have. Most of your levels are probably still going to be relatively linear. The ones I've been creating are pretty linear. Typically what you do is I'll have a checkpoint, create a new sequence, and then basically the whole level starts from that point. So then that's going to get the checkpoint, and even though it didn't get across, it got the plane to go across and break the bridge for the bike, and now the bike's going to fail too. So, alright, so what you might have instead, let's delete a whole bunch of these things. Hopefully everything will be fine when I delete it. Alright. So typically what will happen is you will have A over here, and a lot of the levels I've designed is you're going to have A come here, you're going to say I want to trigger a new sequence, and then what I want that to happen now is I'm going to have the hydraulic phase triggered from this sequence. And what I'm going to do with that hydraulic phase is I'm going to lift this whole bridge up with the car on it, and I need to edit the speed, so I don't want it to be super fast right now. Alright, so I'm just going to draw it right in here for simplicity's sake here. Let's go there, let's add some split joints. Just make sure they're correct. They're both on 2. Okay. So I'm going to do that. Then I'm going to create a vehicle on the top. Let's do that. And let's create a boat. Okay, it's a small boat, but that's fine. It's just for demonstration purposes. Alright, so the vehicle on the top, I want this vehicle to happen when the hydraulic phase happens. And once the hydraulic phase happens, I want the boat to go. Then I want a hydraulic phase again. Come on. Gotta drag it out here. So let's drag this off, make this link. Oh, and I also want this checkpoint. I can click the checkpoint and I can go, I want to stop the vehicle. I do not want to change the speed. That created my little restart guy here. And then after the second hydraulic phase, I'm going to start again. All right. So what should happen is car will go across. It will hit the flag. And now it lifts this whole bridge up while this car is moving across. Once this car gets to its destination, which it doesn't because I never moved its flag. Alright, so once the second car gets to its destination, then the boat will go across, as you can see here. Then the hydraulic phase will lower the car back down to safety. It snaps into place and it continues on its journey. Alright, so hopefully you just have to play around a lot with this to create the levels you want. There's a whole lot of new things you can do, and I think even the developers and the level designers are still exploring the possibilities of this. So we'd love to see what everyone else comes up with in workshops. So I hope everyone enjoys it because I think it's certainly really exciting. Alright, so thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed my video.